we hem dan nu gewoon aftrappen.
Helemaal goed.
So, welcome everybody. We had a little bit of a tough start, but now we're here. It's the last Utrecht Blockchain Nights of this year, actually. And we have a special guest from Amsterdam, Maarten Smakman. He's very well known in the Dutch blockchain ecosystem, and he has knowledge about a broad range of subjects. He also talked about DAOs before, and he's currently diving into token engineering. He will tell more about it later, but let's just start and ask him a couple of personal questions. I hope he's ready for it.
Fully.
So we actually didn't prepare this, so I'm curious how you will answer this question. How did you start within the blockchain scene? Where did you find out about blockchain?
That is really interesting. So I have been working as a concept developer since about 2009. And I think it was around 2013-14 that I was working for several public organizations in the Netherlands, where I started to get very interested in technology and the impact it had on how organizations were run. And I was also very much annoyed by the politics and the bureaucracy I entered within these organizations. Well, from there, I started to read more about technology on several subjects. I started to think more and more how that could improve the workings of these organizations. And I think it was around 2016 where I decided to take a year off and to learn about those technologies and actually have a year, well, you could call it a sabbatical, but it was also a learning year, so to say. And that year I dove into all these new technologies that were buzzing around. Well, you can name them like virtual reality, big data, blockchain. Well, yeah, all those big things hanging in the air. And it was actually at blockchain where I stopped, because for me it was also a search for, well, let's call it, how can we build the social contract for the digital age, so to say. And for me, when I read a report on blockchain, I thought, yes, this is like the missing puzzle, where, for example, for me, like AI, artificial intelligence, is a really interesting technology, but it only makes existing organizations go quicker and smarter, but it doesn't fundamentally change the way people interact with each other. And when blockchain clicked, especially Bitcoin clicked for me, then I thought, okay, so if we can define digital scarcity, this is the moment where we can start talking on what is worth what on the internet. And this is the moment where we can start the discussion on, well, is this justified, all this value being accrued at places, and how can we organize this better maybe? Well, I think I can speak for more people when this is the start of a rabbit hole, which has so many directions and so many angles and so many interesting new insights. I'm pretty much still into the rabbit hole on different subjects, and in the rabbit hole I just follow my own intuition, my own curiosity, and for the last, I think, year and a half, it has brought me to, well, the whole concept of DAOs, so decentral and autonomous organizing. And this also, makes me very curious about tokens and tokenization. From this curiosity, you just go and search and learn, and go and search and learn. And this is pretty much where I am now. And I want to talk, I like to share my knowledge that I gained for the last year, because I think it's it's very hard for me to share the enthusiasm I have for the subject, and I hope I can do that as accessible as possible.
Nice. That's a good introduction.
Quite a story, right?
Yeah. So if I understand correctly, you come from, or you are focusing mostly on concepts.
Yeah.
And you are attracted to the fact that you can change, or that the system or systems might change due to technology like blockchain.
Yeah. That pretty much is it. So and like everyone diving into that rabbit hole, at a sudden moment you understand that it is a complete new possibility in how people coordinate between each other. And so this is really abstract, because of course you can have really big visions of global decentral organizations. And of course, especially in the beginning, I had the same big visions. But then there is this story like, okay, we know why it's necessary, but then, well, actually, precisely what is necessary. And then after you have defined that, you can say, well, how are we going to do that? How are we going to, how in the practical sense, how are you going to build these organizations? Because of course, blockchain has been, and especially like in the ICO phase, it was about like promising a lot and sketching the biggest visions, but well, obviously also a lot of projects for that reason did not like start flying. But after learning and after like seeing a lot of these projects not working, you just have to answer the question, why are they not working? And it's not a matter of calling them shitcoins and then totally focus on Bitcoin. It's a matter of learning why they didn't work, and then see if the projects in like the next cycle can be of a better quality and can be of a better value for, well, big word, humanity. Like if we really think this technology can change the world, well, then let's go try and let's build, and don't judge too quick. Don't be too negative on people or suspicious, but just be curious on how it can be done better the next time. And yeah, that's the only of the best way for me to do it is just do it yourself and then build and try, and then you'll find out.
Yeah, that's actually one of the things I like about you, and also the group we we met last couple of years in the Netherlands. That you are so enthusiastic, and that you are going on and on, while this already has been a pretty long journey, and it's still in the infancy phase, actually.
Yeah, it is. But this is a really cool thing, right? Like last week, I was part of the Odyssey hackathon in Groningen, and the same vibe you feel there. It's like, okay, being a witness or playing a role in really building that future that is envisioned, that is quite far away, that is not being seen by other people, or it's hard to explain. But it's also kind of, yeah, there's some intuition, there's some knowledge, and there's also a lot of perseverance necessary. And then, yeah, well, slowly you can see these new possibilities come to fruition, slowly and with a lot of trial and error. But in the end, you truly see a new, at first, a new financial system arise. But especially if you dive deeper into the DAOs, then you can see all the other possibilities also getting more and more mature, so to say. And mature is not the word, because it is in its infancy, but they're growing, like, and the knowledge is growing, and the ecosystem is growing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what you said before that back in 2016, 17, you saw a lot of ICOs, a lot of projects didn't really deliver, and everybody threw in a token. But actually, the dynamics of token systems are much more complex than a lot of people thought. Also, than I thought when we were thinking about those systems. And it starts to become like a whole research topic, token engineering, and that's also what probably the reason why you dove into it. But are you seeing that the domain is changing? Are people getting more mature? Is it different than a couple of years ago?
Well, yeah, it's for me, it's hard to say how this was a couple of years ago because I only dove into it like this fall. But actually, I think only this fall there was an easy way to dive deeper into it, because before, of course, there were like Discord groups and fora where you could share knowledge. But in September, the first cohort from the Token Engineering Academy in Berlin started, and I was immediately highly interested in that because I've been visiting the Token Engineering Global Gathering, as it is called, the TEG. This was a conference that was held in 2018 and 2019 already in Berlin. And those two I visited, and I was highly impressed by the level of all speakers, by the depth of all knowledge being shared there, and also by the openness and the funniness of the community there. So when I saw they launched the Token Engineering Academy, I immediately was hooked and curious, and I signed up for the second cohort. So the first one was in September, and the second one was from I think the 12th of October till the 30th. So this was actually the first place, as far as I know, where the new field was being explored, and that where this new field is being actually like bringing to the next level by a really smart group of people, and they brought it back to a course with lessons, with topics, well, all the things you do in education. It's not that difficult. But they were the first one to really structure the learning in token engineering, and for that reason, I was very interested in what will the structure be like, what kind of people do they attract, and what can I learn from it? Of course, that most of all.
Okay, now I'm interested. So you're going to talk about a little bit more about that part, like token engineering, and also the why, the what, and the how. And in addition, you are also going to talk about an art project that you are developing yourself or have developed.
Yeah. So some things might be doubling with the things I already said, but I think the whole story is quite like there's a line into it, and in the end, I very much, that's what I already want to say, and I hope the people that watch feel the urge to also jump into the community, because the thing is, I really think that in the Netherlands especially, we have to build a bigger group of people that work on this topic, and that also can start experiments and do stuff. Because it's, well, you will hopefully see in the presentation that this new field is so dynamic and so broad. There's a lot of minds being being looked for to jump into it, because I think with another guy from The Hague, we were the first Dutchies jumping into the academy. But I really hope after this presentation that people feel attracted to also jump into it.
Yes, that then I'll just give you the stage. I'll click through the presentation. Just let me know, and I'll shut up for now.
Okay, I say next if I need the next slide.
Perfect.
Okay, next. Yeah, so I'm starting off with this one, and I will give everyone like 20 seconds to read this this meme, because this is an important one for me. Okay, you next. No, because this is a really important thing for me, that we always need to zoom out in what we are working on. And for me, that, like I said, when I found out working in public institutions, that the value systems that we use in our current society are just not as good as they can be. And we don't want a ghetto, and it's quite well, it's quite a qualification that these aliens were giving our life on the planet. But yet, there's, well, if you only read the newspaper, there's a lot of things that can be done better in the current value systems. And, well, an important one is include, don't exclude. But there's also other things that can be done better. And for me, this is important to emphasize, because, yeah, there is a bigger picture. And if we want to include also newbies or the mainstream, then it's also important to tell a bigger story. And for me, the bigger story is new value systems and build a new social contract for the digital age. Next, please, Jure. Like said, I think we can do better by building new value systems. And by default, for me, these value systems are digital, so they can gain a maximal efficiency. For me, they are also global by potential. So this is the whole buzzword thing on blockchains. Like, they need to be borderless, they need to be permissionless, and they need to be censorship resistant, so that we can work together on a global scale. And they also need to be sustainable by design. So that means people that take part need to feel the responsibility to make it a success. The system that we build, they must be positive for everybody. And in the end, also, it must be a closed value system. That is free to enter and free to leave, but the value must stay into the system. This is possible now by blockchains, but, and next please, Jure. And for me, it's important, like, these are only words, but in the end, I think it's really important for the mainstream people who don't understand the technology to get into to pictures and to visions that people can relate to very quickly. And for me, this is a really good one, because I think that if we can start acting as a swarm around this shared interest, then it's easier for people to relate to the idea of a decentral autonomous organization. Just point to the air and show how the birds are flying. It's all coordinated, it's all non-coordinated, and it is, of course, it's another species, or it's another group of animals, but yet with the newest technology and the possibilities that the newest scientific insights give us, it is more and more possible to act as a swarm around a shared interest. And this picture shows that in a really accessible way for newbies, I think. Next, please, Jure. Well, this is easier said than done, right? So it's really cool to talk about swarms, but how does that work in a practical way? And what do you need to develop if you want to get to a decentral and autonomous organization? Next, please. Yeah, so that is just try, because the things I learned in working in DAOs for the last year, it is pretty much only about failing and then trying again and talking about it and learning, and then try again, and that for a few reasons this is important. Because you find out that the technology, for example, is not ready to be massively adopted. The other thing is that the humans, as we are not ready to adopt it, because it is a complete new way of working. It's also a way of letting go, of trusting other people, of sharing information in a complete new way. And I think this also asks for quite a jump in consciousness, if you will make it big. So if you really want to work together in this new way, people also need to change. And you can talk about it, but if I speak for myself, the way you change the quickest is just try, talk about it, share learnings, reflect on your own behavior, and then try again. So it's important to go try. Next, please, Jure. And this trying I've been doing a lot, but of course also you need to zoom out sometimes, because there is, most of the time, there is a bigger line in the scheme of things. So if you reflect and you put on the scientific glasses, then you see that there is a bigger story in the things that we are trying to develop and that we are trying to discover. And I think this crypto flower that is being developed by Sherman Voschgeer and Michael Zargam, which are two prominent people in the community, tells a lot, because it tells how complicated and how diverse and how, well, extremely mind-opening working on crypto economic systems is. And it, for that reason, I also, like said, would want to see a lot of more people into this field, because it takes so many insights and so many people from different backgrounds to make it come to full fruition. So for myself, I'm an economics guy, and I'm really interested in game theory and philosophy and law and ethics. So I'm more on the left-hand side of this figure. But I don't have any clue of the technical side. So by building a crypto economic system, I fully rely on at least 4 or 5 other people. I found out this already in practice. I am interested in computer science and cryptography, and I like decision science, and I'm very interested in governance. But I don't have the intellectual capacity to absorb all these fields and its newest insights. Not to speak about artificial intelligence and control theory, etc., etc. So these are the fields that are being touched by crypto economics. But then the next step, it is about applied crypto economics. So how do you design token systems in a way that they are sustainable, like I said, profitable for everyone, and of course they are digital in themselves, but they also need to envision a global potential if you want to. That of course depends on the goal that you pursue. But there's a lot of practical questions that have to be answered if you decide to build a crypto economic system. And I think this figure really shows how multi-dimension the whole field is. Next, please, Jure. And the cool thing is, when you dive deeper into it, like they did at the token engineering course, you can structure it and you can make quite a logical steps in time to come to the concept of the system. And from that concept, you go try, and you go iterate, and you fail, and you try again, etc. And the cool thing about the ecosystem design is that it is not so difficult. Because, well, like I said, I studied economics myself, and if you start a business, you pretty much walk into the same questions, and the answers are not even that difficult, because only the terms that are being used are difficult. So the words and the definitions, of course, it is a new field, so there's still a search going on for the right definitions and for the right consensus on those definitions. But, well, it's, as far as I'm concerned, it's not that far away from from the old world of business modeling, so to say. And this is also the 4 points you see here. They are part of the Token Engineering Academy Ecosystem Value Flows course. And these are the 4 subjects of the 4 colleges that they are giving in the whole course. So in this case, the first night is fully dedicated to the system's purpose. Well, of course, you can debate a lot on that, but in the end, it's just the goal you are pursuing and the shared interest that you want to, the shared interest that you have with a group, or the problem that you are solving as a group. This is the system's purpose. On the one hand side, it doesn't seem to be very complicated. On the other side, it takes a lot of thinking, because this is the point where if you don't direct the steering wheel in the right direction, later you will totally run out of the road. You will miss the right corners. So it's really important to very well decide what your system's purpose is, and to discuss this with a group of people very thoroughly. So for that reason, it's not that strange that it takes a whole course or a whole college. Then Jure, please help me out. I'm saying college, but I don't think it's the right word. It's a Dutch word. But what's een college ook alweer?
A lecture.
A lecture, that's the word I was searching for. Yeah. So the second lecture is fully dedicated to the stakeholders of a crypto economic system, their motivations and their assets. And yeah, well, this is also, you can get back to a normal business where you, of course, also think about who are the people that I'm making my product for, who is going to pay for it, who are the people who are interested in our story, who is going to invest in it. So it is not that different from normal business modeling, but they are taking it a level deeper, in my opinion, because they really dive deep into those stakeholders and their motivations. And I think in normal business modeling, it's only about we're making a product and who's going to pay for it. And in a crypto economic system, you take a broader view. So you also take, for example, look to the non-financial motivations of people. So sometimes it's not about paying for a certain product, but it's also because people want to support a certain person, or they really are touched by the story of the founder. Or so it is way broader than only the financial part. And I really like that there's a lot of attention for that in this specific in this lecture. And then in the third lecture, it's all about interactions between all the stakeholders and the policies between those stakeholders. So this is more the governance side, so to say. And especially in the crypto economic systems with the whole diverse group of stakeholders. This is also an interesting part because you, at least I started to understand how complicated a grown company is, a fully grown company with all the stakeholders into it, and all the interests they have, and the policies to govern these interests in a sustainable way. In the thing is, if you work in a grown-up company, you are used to all those interactions just going fluently. But if you design a crypto economic system from the start, you really need to think about how these interactions are going to be, and how they might be turning out, and how you can, in your design, make them or optimize them. And yeah, for me, this was also mind-blowing because the full extension of all these interactions is really broad. And this is also one of my critics about the whole course, but I will get to that, back to that later. The fourth lecture is about value flows. And Jure, if you can do the next slide. So this is this one, and then you really start to break down crypto economic systems into parts, and you start defining these parts. And well, this is a short overview where mostly the stock and the flow are interesting. So you really start to see who is bringing what into the system, and how can we define it as a stock, as an asset, and how are these stocks flowing from one stakeholder to the other. And I think this is best shown by the next slide here, where we have, in this case, the crypto economic system of DAI. And well, here you can see how a whole system can turn out. And I'm not going to dive deeper into this because it's really complicated to grasp fully, but it does show how a whole system works with all its flows and with all its stocks into it. And if you look at a system like this, you truly start understanding that it is about engineering, because graphics like this, they come from the engineering community, so to say. At my business economics study, I didn't see things like this. So you are really taken into the engineering corner, and for me this was a huge insight and a big learning. And I have not felt so stupid for a long time because there are really cool people involved, but they are like mind-blowingly smart. And if you start designing systems like this, it is for me, it was most about learning, because there is so much into these systems that is, for me, at least when I started the course, out of my knowledge zone. It took a lot of brain capacity to stay into the game of the course, so to say, because it is a lot and it is complicated. Can you do the next one? So to break it down, I've said, I followed the course from the 12th to the 30th of October. And well, like said, it is the first one in its league, and I don't think you can speak of a league if there's only one in it, but okay. But it is a magnet of talent. So the smartest people in token engineering, as far as I know, are related to the course. They strongly uphold a community approach, which I really like. So the group of people working on the course is really cool and really open and really adaptive. And for example, in my cohort, it was a group of 25 people, and well, there were people from 18 countries and 4 continents. So it is really cool to see a global beehive of very curious people trying to understand and trying to explore a new field with his community approach. For me, this was one of the major learnings that it is so cool to work on this global scale, connected to other people who are also curious. And the field is new, so a lot of questions, a lot of things you don't understand, a lot of insights that just still are not like sunk in. But yeah, still it is like it is, you can just feel that there's something there which I want to be a part of. So it is a lot about like feeling that it's interesting to be a part of, but I don't fully oversee the impact this is going to have in the future, I have to say. And the community itself, they are also tokenizing itself, for example. So they are digital and they are global and they look to be circular in itself because they want to tokenize their own community. They eat their own dog food, so to say. And this is also a project they are working on. Next, please, Jere. Yeah, so for me, the token engineering tips. So, like said at the previous slide, it's a lot about intuition because this new field is so multidimensional that it's really hard to like be satisfied with having finished the course. Because having finished the course actually only made me more stupid. So I know I want to be there. I know I want to learn more. But holy moly, it is a lot. So for me, it opened like 20 doors where I had hoped to open 3 or 4. It is also an invitation to myself to learn more about it. And in this path, I think it's really important to choose your battles because in the course I found out that the knowledge between all those scientific fields is really deep. I think this is one of my main criticisms on the course, that it is quite like abstract, all the discussions, and where I had hoped that they would be brought down to a more concrete level. The cases that we were working on, because participants were also working on a case in which they were building a token system, they were also quite abstract. And I think this lies in the fact that in this starting phase of this new field, a lot of like very big dreamers are directing to the course. And it's people with a big mind and who like the big stories, but they are not too practical in the way they develop projects. And this is a thing I really missed. But on the other hand side, I think this is a logical way these new fields emerge. And the more people come into it, the more the whole field emerges. The more use cases there are, the more practical problems are being solved. And then, you slowly also start attracting a bit more of the building attitude and a bit less of the dreaming attitude. And I myself really like the dreaming attitude, but I also like to realize stuff, and I missed that a bit in the course. And for people who are interested and who would like to understand more, on the 8th of December, the community holds another introduction to token engineering. This is, I think, a course of 1.5 hours in which they show what it is about, token engineering, and they also tell more about the next cohort, which I think will probably be in January or February or something. So then there will be told more about the 3 weeks course and when it's going to be held. But this introduction on the 8th of December is 1.5 hours, and it's really accessible, and it's just an invitation to get to know more about the course. Next, please, Jure. Yeah, so of course, always go back to the bigger story. Like, I think it's important for us to build better systems. That pretty much is it. I think technology provides us the means now, this token engineering academy is a really cool and practical way to get on board of this new field in 3 weeks. You have to spend quite some time in those 3 weeks, but it's mind-blowing weeks. It's meeting really cool people and working on cool stuff. So I would highly recommend it, hands down. So next, questions.
So maybe you it's just an easy question, but like, why do you think it's so important for people to start learning this? Why? Because you are also saying just go to that, go to the 3 weeks course. I think you already mentioned it a couple of times, but can you maybe summarize it in 2 sentences again? Why do you think this is important know-how?
Yeah, so I think people in the first hand, blockchain wise, are being attracted by the like it's the why. So okay, people understand we need to build new systems, and with Bitcoin, most specifically, we have already a working concept, and it's really cool that it is there, and people are touched by the new possibilities that are there. Now, well, then you dive deeper and you get into Ethereum stuff and smart contracts and its possibilities. So it's and you people still stay interested most of the times. But then there's the question: if you are going to build such a system yourself and you want to solve a problem, then you still have the for me the question that arose was like, how are we going to do this? And I stayed a long time in that vibe, like how would that work? And for me, those questions were partly answered by just jumping into a course like this, where people help you to bring that how down to practical steps. So you can just break down the process of building a system. And well, in this course, they take you by the hand to go through all those steps. And for me, the goal is to eventually understand those steps and like really embody those steps, and then so that I can build those systems myself. And this is what it's about, education, what education is all about, that you want to teach people to do stuff eventually themselves. And I think that it is about that. You can better understand the field of crypto, and you can also better be a part or better add to the field of crypto yourself if you understand how these systems work.
Yes, thanks. And you also mentioned that they are tokenizing their own community.
Yep.
Could you tell a little bit more about that? Do you know a little bit more about that?
No, I don't. The thing is, one of the cases that were brought into the course, and one group was working on that, was the Token Engineering Academy token, but I was not part of that token. And I have to say, at the final presentation, I was so focused on my own group. Do you still hear me?
I lost you for a moment.
Okay.
Now I hear you again.
Okay. Yeah, so I didn't follow that group's presentation, and for that reason, I cannot tell you more about it. I know they are working on it, but I don't know the status of it now. Probably you will be able to find it in their Discord, but the current status, I don't know.
Maybe maybe we'll dive into that. I really liked. Thank you for the presentation, because it's a really good overview for me, as I am also interested and not super technical, but also interested in all the different concepts. I like the fact that you talked about like DAOs like a swarm. That's a really good metaphor for me. Like actually with these token ecosystems, you uh, correct me if I'm wrong, but it it looks like you're saying that you could design a system around a shared interest, and so in that order, people can work together around a shared interest, um, while they are still fulfilling their individual motivations, actually.
Yep.
And yeah, I'm curious. I hope to have the time to start one of those courses myself in the future.
Yeah, that would be cool. One thing I would like to add on this is that, like the crypto people sometimes really like talk about the field like it's a complete new field and it's never been done before. But when you dive deeper into building a system like this, you also start seeing that in the old world, um, for example, a regular company, is also a kind of a swarm. So there's also a group of people that are intelligently coordinated around a problem with incentives like a salary or a bonus. They also have governance mechanisms. They also have a possibility to opt in or opt out. But yeah, these old school companies, so to say, they really feel analog, like they're not intelligent, they're not quickly in their moving. So it's not a swarm, so to say. It's like more. Yeah, it's hard to find the right metaphor for that, but sometimes there are these designs of um, um, like 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 it feels like a Flintstone mobile, so to say. So it is the same thing, but it's not the same thing. And I think
Yeah.
people can relate to that the digital versions of old companies will have to be more flexible, more circular, more like they have to be more just in the way all the gains of the organizations are being divided between all people. So it's just an upgrade of what we already have. It's a smarter version of associations, of companies, of foundations and stuff. The people are already around shared interest, are working around shared interest, and incentives are also not new. So for me, it's really cool to also see the old world as okay. It's good what's being done there. Like it's not only crooks or idiots or whatever. It is a lot of people are working in like old systems which just really need an upgrade. And this new field can provide that upgrade.
Yeah. So maybe are you also saying that people within the crypto and blockchain industry can learn from the current state of business? Actually,
Definitely. Yeah.
they can really, if they absorb the current concepts, then they can use them to build their own token systems. But do not forget all the systems that we've built so far.
No, but I think it's important to learn from it, especially on the governance side, for example. There's a lot to learn from the old world. Like there's a lot of backstops and checks and balances within the old systems that are being discovered now also in the new systems. And maybe things work like this because like people just need to experience mistakes themselves before they really embody them. But on the other hand side, yeah, it is also a possibility that if you understand that is quite similar to the old world, it's also easier to explain the importance of crypto, and it's also to new people, and it's also more easy to build the bridge to those new people to invite them to join crypto ecosystems. Because for now, with all the MetaMask stuff and all those, like, it is a new, well, not very accessible world. And this is, on the one hand side, this is a technical problem, and this technical problem will be solved because more UI and UX people jump in, so it gets more and more friendly to use. But on the other hand, it's also a mentality thing, and by making crypto like totally new and fully special, it excludes people in my way sometimes. And I think it's important, if you want to drive the adoption, to make things more accessible, also in language and in mentality and in attitude. Because I think people do want to change, but they want to be invited by a cool, inviting group of people, and not by maximalists who are only screaming about what other people do wrong, so to say.
Yeah. And maybe this is a nice bridge. If you want to make these concepts more accessible, what do you do to make these concepts more accessible?
A great question. Well, several things, but the one I'm gonna point to now is a specific art project I've been working on for the last year, and it's called "Is It Copernicus?" And of course, this name is like pointing towards Nicolaus Copernicus, and this is the guy who, well, in the like post-Renaissance time, was the first one to have the insight that and now I have to say it the right way, but the way the sun and the earth were interacting with each other, so to say. Well, my premise is that the current time we're living in is realizing the same shift in the way we look at the world and in ourselves as the insights that were being gained 500 years ago. Well, the thing I want to, the way I want to prove it is by building an artwork, which we have done. The artwork contains blockchain technology. Well, then I see people thinking, how does it work? Well, you have to envision a glass bowl, and it's a glass artwork in the shape of a sun, and also in the it's being envisioned as a sun. And in the artwork, we built a Raspberry Pi with a power bank. And after the power bank and the Raspberry Pi were put into the glass bowl was being shut forever. After that, this is where I'm pointing to my technical allies, because it was not me, but it was specifically Mark Buma, who's a blockchain developer from Utrecht also. And Mark, when the bowl was closed, he activated the power bank, and then after, well, I don't get into the 3 sentences I'm telling right now, because this is all Mark's part. But what happened, that the contract was being deployed. 21 tokens were being sent outside the bowl to the marketplace called OpenSea. The public key for that reason was known, but the Raspberry Pi also produced a private key, and that private key stayed in the bowl, in the glass bowl. So what we have here is a glass artwork that produced 21 tokens that can be bought for half an ether on the marketplace. of which the private key will forever be in the ball. So now people start buying these tokens, and the value they pay with for the tokens, that is being put onto the private key. So in this ball, there's a private key that in the end there will be 6.5 ether on the ball, in the ball, and the private key is also in the ball and can only be accessed by breaking the glass of the ball. So this is an experiment on various levels. So the first one is just the blockchain part. So how can you deploy a contract like this, and how can you interact with OpenSea? How does Ethereum and its whole contracting work? The other thing is, it's an artwork that also really wrestles with the concept of greed, because what is happening that the value in the glass bowl is going to get higher and going to might even, also depending on the value of Ethereum. But say if Ethereum goes to €1,000, then with 6.5 ether in it, then there's 6,500 euros in the bowl. But if ether even gets higher than that, then the value of the bowl also rises. So this is the first part of the whole idea. So we accrue value in a glass bowl, and the only way to get to that value is to break the bowl. This is part one. But then, and this is also where the 1.0 level of token engineering comes in, because we were looking for how can we make the value in the ball even higher than only this 6.5 ether. And this is where we defined a right for all the people who own a token to also tell people about the project in presentations. And if the individual token holders hold a presentation, they have to put 25% of their revenues onto the public key. And this way, the 21 token holders, they also add value to the ball, which in the end can go endlessly, because if a lot of people are interested in the concept of tokens, in the concept of tokenization, in the idea of tokenomics, so this is the whole token part. But if you really dive deeper into this, it turns out to be it is pretty much a new business that is happening here, because we are inviting people to share their knowledge on tokens. So in a way, we are an advisement company, so to say, with this glass bowl being our vault, because there is value collectively, accrued value is being put into the bowl. And this is one part of the token engineering, because 25% goes into the bowl. So the bowl grows richer and richer, but 75% is just regular income of everyone giving a presentation. So there's the search for this balance between personal gain and collective gain, because if the collective gain gets higher and higher, and well, in the hypothetical situation that the bowl accrues 250,000 euros, I would say more people are interested in learning about the whole concept and about the artwork. So then more presentations are being asked for, and more money is being put into the artwork. Then the value even gets more higher, and even more people want to learn about it. So the idea is, can we design a system that makes the value of the artwork get higher and higher, so that the interest for the idea is getting bigger, so people want to know more about tokenization, so more value can put into the bowl. So I think I'm doubling the things I'm saying here. So is it clear what the concept of the idea is?
Yeah, if I understand correctly, then you actually created an art piece with a part of blockchain technology within it to actually incentivize a group of people to teach other people about token economics and tokens and blockchain.
You say it better than I do.
I just listened to you for 10 minutes.
Thanks for the for the conclusion. No, but this is what it is. Yeah. But the cool thing about this is that you really start seeing the concept of a swarm. In this case, really concrete. It's 21 people with knowledge of tokenization, with incentives being like engineered, so to say, around the whole idea, with blockchain technology applied. So I tried to make it as practical as possible in this concept. And even, well, from there you start seeing where it might go wrong. Because for now, a really cool thing, I think, if people buy a token because they see chances for themselves, they have skin in the game, so they really buy into the idea. And for now, with Ethereum at I think today it's 500 euros or dollars, so they can buy into the idea for $250, which is not cheap, but it's also not really expensive if you can buy into a really into a cool idea with a lot of potential. But on the other hand side, if Ethereum goes up really high, isn't the barrier to take part in the project not too high? So this is all about, this is what you find out when you just engineer a project, you go try, and then you see how many pitfalls there are in the road that could make the project go wrong. Or go wrong is not the right way to say it, but where the project can derail or can not lift off, so to say.
Yeah, and so if I'm in possession of a token and I'm able to teach other people, can I also give up that possession at one point?
Well, you can sell the token. It's pretty easy. And that can go both ways. So you can be like fed up with the idea, or you can feel that your knowledge, well, has been put into the project, and some other person can add more. You can find someone who wants to buy a token or your token, but it can also be possible that other people are mesmerized by the idea and that they are going to offer you a price for the token. And then it's your personal, like your personal feeling, if you gonna like want to be still part of the project, or if you might give another person for a certain price the possibility to join the project. So that in that way you can see it as a share into the company that can be bought and sold.
And if I sell my share in the company, should I also add something to the the funds that I gain at that point? Should I also share it with the ball or with the company?
No, that we didn't include that into the token system yet.
Yeah.
And it's a yet, so we don't know, because a lot of there's a lot of soft governance in the project. So the tokens for now are being held by mostly by people I know. And they all know it's an experiment, and if we adjust some of the parameters, no one's really gonna like run away. But I think this is also an interesting insight for me, that like you want to get trust out, like you want to automate trust as much as possible. But in a way you also want to work with people you know, and that you can trust and that you speak the same language with. So a lot of the governance of a project like this, at least, is being done off chain, so to say. And maybe that like doesn't fully use the possibilities that blockchains offer. On the other hand, it is, in a practical way, it turns out to work easier in making the project a success. So in this way, we called it an exploration of the new realm regarding money and power. So this is what it is. We're really exploring the new world, the new decentralized world, and its money and power structures. There's no good and no bad in this.
No, indeed. I like it because you already see the different dimensions with a project like this. And maybe especially with a project like this. So, for example, if you would want to make like a second version of this, would you add a DAO, for example, for the founders, or would you not?
So this is a really cool question. Because in working with the Blockdom DAO, which I'm a part of, which is a DAO of a group of blockchain enthusiasts in Amsterdam, you find out how difficult it is to have a DAO that is open and forward moving. Because if you decentralized everything, nothing's happening pretty much. This is my conclusion of working in the DAO. So because everyone with an initiative thinks, well, let's see how the others react, and then every initiative is pretty much being held behind because not everyone is as energized as the initiator. So for me, an important insight of the last two or 3 years is that, like, decentralization, you need to do as much as possible, especially in global projects. It is of course smart to do in a lot of ways, but if you decentralize on a smaller scale and you know people within the system, then it's not a huge problem if there is some centralization, because some people in the community are just trusted more, or are just more energetic, or more outgoing, or more, because they really like they just like get everyone on board of things, and in a way this energy, part of this energy is that there is some centralization of interaction, it is what it is, in my opinion. Because if you don't allow people to take initiative, and you don't trust people in that initiative, well, nobody's going to take any initiative, and then things are decentralized but not going anywhere.
So it's actually pretty difficult to steer people around with a DAO. You should really have a purpose and a shared interest.
That's important, and that is a really important thing. And the other thing is that you need to have people on board that are tech savvy, and you also really need to think about the number of decisions that you want to make together. That's for two reasons. Because if you want to keep people like into the system, you don't want them to vote like every day for 4 or 5 things, because then people just they will stop voting, for the plain and simple reason that people don't want to be thinking about all the things all the time and also decide about it. And this is like on the governance side, but on the practical side, if you put everything into a decision system, then you are gonna pay a lot of money on gas fees, then this also doesn't make any sense. for example, last year in the Blockdom DAO, we were voting on the Christmas drinks, and only the gas prices were like 20 beers. So so the first 20 beers were like just gone into the Ethereum blockchain, and so this doesn't make any sense, right? Well, this part, of course, is problem of of Ethereum and its scaling issues. But on the other hand side, we could also have decided off-chain with the 10 people in the DAO of whom 8 were into the room at a certain day. We could have decided just there, right? And then the decision was not like put on the blockchain, but on the other hand side, we would have saved ourselves 20 beers. So
that's very interesting topic to talk about it another time, maybe later on when DAOs are more evolved also.
They are evolving. So this is a cool thing. It is already happening. And I think the Blockdom DAO in this case is called the 2.0 DAO, and we are now already working on the 3.0. So things are evolving. New insights are being taken into new DAOs, and of course there is a lot of experimentation. So we are not far like we are not one of the front headers here. So there's way more developed DAOs than we are. So don't take our experience as as the prime experience, but by being part of a DAO, and that's why I emphasize go try, be part of it, because only then you can see like all the pitfalls of decentralization, of this new these new coordinating mechanisms. And you can also see all the improvements that are being made on the technical side, and but also on the governance side. It is happening, Jure, but slowly and with a lot of stumbling.
So thank you very much. It was a real pleasure to talk to you tonight and to learn about Copernicus, and also a little bit of the start of token engineering. And I'd like to maybe, we'll of course talk later in person when it's time again.
Cool.
But one last question: if people watch this, or if people would like to reach out to you, like what kind of questions, what kind of things would you want people to reach out to you for?
Oh, pretty much everything. Like the cool thing about this, maybe you can put the figure in once on the presentation of the crypto flower. Yeah, the cool thing is that I say to myself every time, like, zoom out. So we are talking about bigger, very interesting topics on which I want to understand on every level. So I see myself as someone who combines insights in all fields, who combines networks. So I'm not a specialist. I'm not the one who knows deeply about stuff, but I do know, I think, about like the general things on the conceptual level. I do know in the Netherlands on the networks that are working on things, on the people that are working on interesting projects, on interesting scientists or interesting entrepreneurs. So I think it's just more on a general level, where I can help people find their way in the rabbit hole, like of blockchains, but also of the ecosystem of the Netherlands. I think I can help people direct in this rabbit hole. Of course, from the practical side, I've learned a lot about token engineering, and I like to share my knowledge. But I don't want to overemphasize my knowledge level, because I still feel, I'm like a child in the candy store. So I'm highly energized, But I don't feel very mature still.
Thank you. And also you're still a child in the candy store. I always like talking to you, and it's so motivating to hear all those stories. You were far more early in the blockchain space in the Netherlands than I was. So I'm thank you for being here, and let's talk soon.
Cool. Really, thanks for having me. And till next time, I would say.
Yes. Till next time.
Cool. Have a good night.
Have a good evening.